This is the second video focusing on foreign policy issues for the United States after the Cold War and the September 11th terrorist attacks. Content Statement 33. Focusing on foreign policy, the United States faces ongoing economic, political, military, and social challenges in the post-Cold War era and following the attacks of September 11th, 2001. The post-Cold War period and the attacks on September 11th, 2001 presented new foreign policy challenges for the United States. Social and political challenges of a globalized world include pandemic diseases, an increase in the immigration of refugees from war-torn regions of the world, international humanitarian aid, and the debate over the treatment of enemy combatants. The Ohio Department of Education, when drafting the current American history content standards, included pandemics as a social and political challenge of a globalized world. These new standards were adopted in June of 2019, meaning they were developed even before that. The COVID-19 pandemic we are living through didn't begin in China until November or December 2019. So the chance of something like COVID happening was not unheard of. You have probably heard on the news about the Spanish flu in 1918, which was a very deadly flu epidemic across the world. Other pandemics have happened in recent years, such as the H1N1 flu strain in 2009 to 2010, and SARS in 2002 to 2004. The spreading of disease is a bigger problem in a globalized society. The world is so interconnected as people and goods are constantly moving around the world. With that movement comes the risk of disease spreading around the world very quickly as well. Refugees are people who flee or leave their country due to war, famine, or persecution based on their race, religion, etc. Refugees have fled war-torn places like Syria and Afghanistan. There are tens of millions of refugees in the world today, and the number has been increasing in recent years. The President of the U.S. sets a limit of how many refugees can be admitted to the U.S. each year. That limit has dropped from 84,000 that were allowed to be admitted in 2016 to 15,000 that will be allowed to be admitted in 2021. And that number is only the maximum allowed. It doesn't mean that many refugees are actually admitted, just that no more than that number of refugees are allowed to enter the country. What role the U.S. should play in helping refugees from other countries is an often debated topic. The U.S. is involved in international humanitarian aid. The goal of humanitarian aid is to save lives and lessen suffering of people in distress across the world. The U.S. assists in humanitarian aid due to natural disasters, war, famine, spread of diseases, and other issues such as environmental crisis. As the most powerful country in the world, America is looked to for help in these situations and has provided aid for years. The demands for aid around the world are great, and the resources to help are limited. Following 9/11, America engaged in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and hunted down terrorists around the world. The treatment of the enemy combatants, or people engaged in conflict against the U.S., has been debated. The goal of the American government has been to prevent another 9/11. At the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, the U.S. set up a detention camp for enemy combatants. The treatment of prisoners at Guantanamo Bay in a prison set up by the U.S. military, Abu Ghraib, in Iraq, has been controversial. Prisoners were interrogated using techniques that are considered torture, and individuals have been held at Guantanamo Bay for extended periods of time without having legal charges placed against them.